All right. Good morning, race fans. I'm a little apologies for coming in late. Again, this is free practice 2 for the Spanish Grand Prix, and this is Crash. Apologies for being a little late. We've got 10 minutes into the session already, and we're already into the 114s. Sainz with a 114.999, Leclerc P2, and Verstappen P3 when we start off the session. Just looking right now, Sainz and Leclerc set their times on soft tires. Verstappen is now on an outlap. He had been on the prototype tire. He's now on a medium tire. Norris, P4 on a medium tire. And then if we look down, anyone else? People who've been on the prototype tire, Tsunoda, and then that's nice that F1 just went on to a different shot for me to Pierre Gasly, unfortunately. We've got Will Buxton in the pit lane running around like crazy. So, the prototype is slow. I can't really. Again, they look to be more towards a harder tire. Again, the thing about the prototype tire is that Pirelli is again, you'll see during the session the T. Again, if you're on watching the F1 stream, you'll see the T for the prototype tire. And what's going on is Pirelli is testing a tire that will debut at Silverstone. And the issue that Pirelli is trying to get ahead of is that the F1 cars are going faster and they're getting more downforce than they expected. And to get ahead of the issue, they're bringing out a tire that would be a 2024 tire prototype compound sooner. And the whole point is that the tire basically is built to be more resilient without other functional properties of the tire being being changed. It appears to be more towards a harder tire, but again, like we're dealing with the C1, the new C1 for this year, the C2 and the C3 tire in comparison. So, ooh, Max blowing by, I believe, one of the Alfa Romeos. Here's we're following Russell going by, going off track. Who's he going to complain about? Who was that in the McLaren? Oh, he's complaining about Piastri. What's going on with Russell? Basically, just aborted his lap because Piastri wasn't in a place that he liked as he went by. He's trying to pass him, and yeah, no, it's more on Russell being a brat than it was just a bad pass on a flying lap. right now, again, we're looking at where they are. Hamilton is P11, and Russell still hasn't set a good time just yet, P20. But Alonso improving on his times right now. Basically, he jumps up to a P4 with a 115.373. No, the chicane's not. The chicane is back. If you count Piastri's moving chicane, yes. No, it's not back in that regards. Hamilton just jumped to a P9 with a 116.010. So yeah, this is what you can do when you're not complaining about other people in traffic around you. Probably good on track. Russell just jumped to a P6 now with 115.771. So there you go. What can you do when you're not complaining about traffic? Yeah, Elactimus was pointing out that with the chicane removed, tire aggregation is going to be bigger. AlphaTauri are on track with Flovis paint on the back of their car. On the back of the wing and around the sides of the wing, from what we can see. So that's interesting that they're testing with Flovis paint. So with the chicane removed, they're gonna go faster. It's a faster track, um, and they're going to be more degradation, particularly on the front tires, particularly the front left tires. So what's going to degrade the most of all the four tires? Um, Lando actually during one of his interviews also like, yeah, tire degradation, and our neck's going to hurt more because of the speed of the curve. Um, So it's interesting that they brought with the again essentially the C2 C3 compounds that we're using, that so our mediums and soft that we're using um, are the same essentially the same compounds that we used last year. The hard compound is what would be our C1 compound from last year, and that was basically our C1 this year is a new compound that spans between the C0 C2. So they're putting in a new C1 compound to span that. We've used it already in a couple other tracks, and they're hoping that really that teams would use that tire. Having said that, when we look at tire allocation, um, basically, let me see, they were allocated two hards, three mediums, and eight softs. So they're expecting them to use more softs. They're expecting a soft strategy. They're not expecting to use a hard strategy, which is interesting, given that I believe one of the teams is using a hard tire to using a hard tire right now. I believe I want to say it's Magnuson. I'll check one moment. Yeah, and I believe the map does not reflect the chicane appropriately on the map, and so they're just going again. Looks like they're just going full speed through the chicane. Um, Jennifer De Vries was actually, I think, believe he was faster. I think in the in pre-practice one. But again, he's sitting here now P6 and and Tsunoda P7. Um, that's again one of the things that we talked about earlier in the first practice session is that all the rookies know this track. This is the one of the practice tracks. This is a track that they've driven on. FP2. I mean, sorry, F2, F3. Again, qualification between free practice one now. F3 and F2 had their qualification sessions, so they've both they've all driven in those uh, driven in those leagues, basically, essentially. Um, they know this track, and so there's nothing to hide on this track. They are comfortable on this track because they know it. And we're seeing that again with DeVries showing his skill. Again, we have Passy in 13, and where is Sarge is down at 20 at the moment. He's not performing at the moment. Passy possibly could get up higher, but again, a lot of people like the performance that DeVries is giving right now. That's the performance we expected from him from the beginning of the year. And it's now starting to, if this is where it is, hopefully this is the start of where we see, both Tsunoda and DeVries getting something out of their car, and going forward. And again, part of DeVries' issues was that his car was not very good to begin with. Same with Tsunoda. So they have brought upgrades, and they look like they're improving. Science is a fastest in Sector 1, Sector 2. Got to be careful because Leclerc could take that from him. And check Sector 2 times for Leclerc, and he does take it from him. And then Sector 3 time, so Science has gone P1, but Leclerc is nipping at his heels. We'll see how his lap finish up. Look, Science goes a 114.274, literally 0.7 faster than Verstappen's lap, and Leclerc is going P1 now. Wow, really close. 1.4.246, 0.03 faster than Science. While that is happening, Verstappen is now starting on an outlap at the moment. Jennifer, you're not going to quit the channel. If Mercedes doesn't get on the podium, you'll be back. Don't worry. But I appreciate your devotion to the Mercedes team. That's definitely interesting to see in chat. Valen is pointing out that a lot of teams are struggling with the bounces in the final corners, and that is something that is going on. Is that the last 2-3 corners of the track going into the finish line is very bouncy, and it's not a car. It's not car porpoising issue. It's a track irregularity, bounciness going on in that section of the track, and it's like, hey, do we raise the car up? And what do we do here? And I think most of the drivers at this point are going to accepting the fact they're just going to bounce through that area. And what the problem is, if they continue doing that, they will take floor damage, and that's the big issue. Can you explain there's a huge difference between Ferrari performance between FP1 and FP2? Yeah. One, I mean, the track is in a different place right now. We've had, and again, Verstappen has taken now, his point is He is point 0.2 faster in Sector 1 than Leclerc, but he is only marginally faster than Sainz in that first sector. But he is faster than both of them. The other thing that we know is that these are practice sessions, and Max is now fastest in Sector 2 as well. But while we do that, Bottas has jumped into P3 with a 1:14.448. But Max is on a very flying lap right now. He's going to improve dramatically on his times. Because this is practice, and Max is going to go in the 1:13.907 on soft tires. Hulkenberg is on soft tires. And he's got a new Sector 1 fastest time. And it's by 0.002, 1,000ths of a second faster than Max. He's only improved on his second sector, 1.96. So he's lost about a tenth on Max. So we're looking, and as I've been talking about, that Ocon has gone across the board at 1:14.242. Hulkenberg's got, Hulkenberg jumps to P2 with a 1:14.177. So, so, because it was a practice session, Ferrari may have, they were on the prototype tire. They also may have tried something. They may have been trying other race strategies, other programs. Also testing. They've also brought out new pieces of new upgrades to their car. So they were more probably doing A/B testing in the previous session than worrying about how fast can they go. Having said this, right now, Haas right now, P2 and P20. Magnussen is now on an outlap at the moment. Hamilton also on an outlap. Tsunoda, Russell on an outlap. And Sargent on an outlap. So in a minute or so, we'll see them go for flying laps. I wouldn't say too much that Piastri is struggling. He is doing really well. He's been very much nipping at Norris's heels throughout the entire season. So right now, Norris is P17 and Piastri is P18, and that's where the team is right now. It's been like Norris is here and Piastri is 1 or 2 places behind on a regular sector. Lewis has just gone fastest in Sector 1. He's only improved. He's the only green in Sector 2. He's 2/10 off, and then he will go P8 eventually on that flying lap. So he does have the fastest first sector. So people are finding ways to go faster in that first sector. We're looking at where the Sector 2, Sector 3 is where they're, again, between Verstappen and Hamilton, 0.5, half a second is in that Sector 3. So, drivers will, as they go through these laps, are going to go through and they're going to, will nail down. It looks like Hamilton's nailed down that first sector. There's room again we're halfway through this practice sector. Yeah, terrible final sector, but it's practice. He's going to go around a couple more times and he's going to find ways to get time. Russell's going P6 with 1:14.392. Magnussen's on the board, jumps up to P11 with a 1:14.713. looking right now, no one. Tsunoda is on a flying lap, and De Vries are on their flying lap right now. Tsunoda head will be finishing his lap in a moment here. He's going to jump to a P12 with 114.8, and De Vries is going to jump ahead of him, 1/10, less than 1/10 actually, faster. So De Vries is a 0.785. Tsunoda has a 0.840. Ocon, new Max Verstappen. Traps after three. I'm just reading what you. Michael K says Merc difficulty is corners. Fabrice Joel Gover says Aston Honda deal. No, no. Yeah, man. You know what? That deal's happening, and that's actually a big benefit for Aston Martin. That so what he's referring to is that a few weeks ago that Honda is going to get back into Formula One after saying they're going to get back. They were getting out. Um, and they tried getting back with Red Bull, but because they did that dance, we're not sure we're in, we're not sure we're out, we're going to keep one foot in. Red Bull is like, we're not going to deal with this, and so that's why they've gone to Ford, and they're bringing in Ford as their engine provider essentially. Um, and ultimately, so basically Ferrari looked around and looked for another team because of that scenario. And Aston Martin was looking to be. Alonso jumped to a P2 with the fastest sector three with 14.007. So he's about uh, almost 2/10 slower than Verstappen. So ultimately, Norris has just jumped to a P12 with 114.694 on the board. So so what's important is that this deal basically is going to be that Honda is going to work with Aston Martin, and Aston Martin is going to become Honda's new works team. And that's the big key about this deal. That where I believe they had been where Aston Martin has been using the Mercedes engine. They've been a Mercedes customer. Um, they needed to just they're going to make this jump because they're no longer going to be a customer. Honda's going to be working directly with them for their chassis to, basically Aston Martin's going to be Honda's works team. It is equivalent to the Red Bull powertrain to the Red Bull and particularly to Red Bull, but it's no different than Ferrari to the Ferrari team, to Mercedes to the Mercedes team, to Renault to their Alpine team. These are the engine manufacturers with their direct team, and at some point, Audi to the Sauber, which is Alfa Romeo. What's going to get interesting next year is Alfa Romeo is going to jump to Haas. So it's going to be Haas MoneyGram. Alfa Romeo MoneyGram Haas, and what we know as Alfa Romeo now is going to revert back to Sauber for 2 years, and then in 2026 it's going to be the Audi team essentially. Perez jumping up to P4 with 114.219. So Verstappen is on an outlap now. Hulkenberg is also on an outlap now for a new lap. I'm just going looking at what you guys have been saying in chat a moment. that car, Max won't win anything unless they're on the same car in F3. If you really Google it, this is Max Tate, I believe, from Jennifer. See, Max is out on mediums. And yeah, I mean, like if Max is on mediums, they're testing something with the medium tires. Master Kiluki, thank you for pointing out that Lance did put improved. He's now P18 with a 115.010. What? so a so a phone is bleeding through the team radio on Max's team radio. Um, and basically, Max is like, is it helmets? Because it's an old ringtone. Um, Moment of humor on track with Max Verstappen right now. We've got Albon on an outlap right now, and De Vries has come to the pit. Looking right now. So right now we have Verstappen, Alonso, Hulkenberg, both of Ferraris, Sonoda, Stroll, Albon, and Sargent on outlaps now. So those are who are on track right now. Master Luke is pointing out that Aston will lose second place if Lance doesn't finish in the place, and that's something that's been starting as a rumbling about Lance. And the weekend warm up kind of hinted on this. Is right now Lance is in the basically the second best car on the grid, but his points generation doesn't reflect that. And it's basically people are saying it's Lawrence's son. So is he going to throw it? He's going to throw his son out, out of the team. Like what's going to go on there? There's again, basically the unspeaking. It's Lance's son. He's brought him onto the team. What's going to happen there? And there's more of this rumbling was happening last year when Aston Martin was not in a good place. But yeah, it's one of those. It's a weird. What is going to happen when Aston Martin with Lance Stroll? At some point, he will leave the team. How does that happen? Why does that happen? Essentially. Lance right now improving on his sector 1 times. He's about 0.3 off, 0.3 of a second off right now. Following on with Albon on screen, not necessarily improving on any of his times at the moment. That is something that we figure is pointing out. Stroll is on the cuff of being 1 second off the leading time. He's in 18th. So that gives you an idea of how compact the field is right now on track right now. Stroll does not improve in sector 2. It doesn't look like it looks like he may have boarded it's going to board that, so it doesn't really much improve. Konos, I not really. The last interviews he gave, I mean, he had a bad Monaco. So why wouldn't you have a dour face after having a bad Monaco? Give let's say he has a great race. He's in points. He's gonna look better. So yeah, I wouldn't throw that all on the last interview that he did when he had a bad Monaco race. Probably. So we've got about under 20 minutes left in this session. Right now, as it stands, Verstappen is P1, Alonso's P2, Hulkenberg's P3, Perez is P4, Ocon is P5, Leclerc is sixth and seventh. Um, they are on soft tires, not the prototype tires. But those times were set a while ago, so they were P1. These were at one point P1, P2 times. So they've we're looking at you know Ferrari doing something else, testing something else other than straight up speed at the moment. Elmas noting that the sky has gone quite dark, but while it looks ominous, track itself is still bathed in sunshine. Yeah, that it's been like that the whole day. There has been some rain in the area, but it's hasn't come to the track itself. They thought that it might happen at the end of free practice one. It might affect. It was a concern in F2's quali and F3's quali. So Jennifer's pointing out that Lewis being Alonso in his rookie year is equivalent to like Max losing Ocon in the same car. It says about pure talent. Yeah, but Max is younger than Ocon. I'm going to put that in perspective here. I mean, like, um, he was younger, um, and you know, yeah. So he beat him in F3, but he was younger. There's a maturity and development gap at that age, and it, I really don't. You know, that was F3. I mean, they're in spec cars. Um, Max moved up to Red Bull. Max. Let's put this perspective. Ocon went up through the system, and Max went up through the system, and Max didn't go to AlphaTauri. He went to Red Bull. And the fact that Max went to Red Bull was such a big deal. We now have this super licensed system to prevent that from happening again. So yeah, but you also understand that Jennifer's gonna argue anyways, because she's on team LH, and we can disagree with her, and she can disagree with us, and that's kind of the charm of this community, that we are able to like have those debates and comments. Looking at a radar shot of the weather, and there is something that is north of the track. and it's moving southwards, but it's not moving. It's just stuck up north. So nothing is in range of the track itself. There were another system during FP2, the end of FP2 that was closer. So going through, Ocon can't beat Perez in the same car team, and this is going back and forth. You got this is now become a full on food fight over Hamilton, Lewis, Max, different cars. Amateur Joe world in miniatures, car matters a lot. Part of the sport is building car. That's true only in F1. F2 and F3 are they're spec series. All the cars are the same. And to a certain extent, IndyCar is a spec series, and NASCAR is there's a specification that they are building. The cars are built where there's and particularly with NASCAR, they've gone to a system of homologated parts that to keep standardized parts to keep the cost down. So right now, people are going around track. Everyone is on track except for Magnussen at the moment. Norris is on an outlap and Alonso's on an outlap. Lando is on a soft tire, and it's a new soft tire as well. So Jennifer, you point out that Max was trying to prove and failing to match Ricardo in his first year. This is where I point out to all of the rookies, like I give them a big pass because it's their first year. But I mean, as it stands right now, DeVries is slightly better than Tsunoda. Gasly is faster than Norris, and Albon Sargent in P19, P20. Giving Sargent's going to be back next year. Williams is not going to give up on Sargent at this time. DeVries will stay if he starts getting points. They're not, McLaren's not going to give up on Piastri on his first year. The fact that, Piastri's performing well for his rookie year. Sargent is performing not well, but it's his rookie year. Williams is going to, they're not going to shove off Sargent after this, even though he's in P20 right now, he hasn't performed very well. He's I would say he's probably maybe the one who's performed the least out of the three rookies. Again, DeVries is the one that's in the pressure cooker. He scores some points. Again, he scores some points this weekend. He's in a good place. Curtis really says that he wants to stay at Ferrari, but do you think that if the car and the team stay where they're at, he will really stay? That's a good question. I want to F1. Yeah. Charles is his car. Yeah. I mean, I think the issue with Charles, basically his contract is up next year. He's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to. It's the 2025 season. I don't see him. I don't see him leaving Ferrari. He's gonna, finish out this year, finish out next year, and sometime during next year they're going to give him a new contract. I think Vasseur. I mean, well, part of it is that Fred Vasseur is now the team principal, and he has a direct relationship with him. He's not going to go. Will they keep Carlos Sainz? That's a good question. Of the two drivers, if one were to go, and he also his contract is up next in 2024 as well. Of the two, it would be Carlos who would leave the team as opposed to Leclerc. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. Something big would have to happen within Ferrari to push him out. Mercedes on a good long run. That's a good question. Right now we're looking at gap and speed. So I don't see the tire information at the moment. So again, Elmas is pointing out that they've had 6 wheel races. The rookies have 6 wheel races. They're on a track that they're. Um, but I would put them in. When we look at the rookies in relation to their team, Norris is P14 and Pulaski's P12. So in relation to the more experienced member of the team, Gasly is 2 places ahead. De Vries is 1 place faster, is 1 place higher than Tsunoda. And then Sargent's only the one outlier here of the 3. He's 1 place behind Albon, but they're 19th, 20th. So, um, Sargent is 0.4 slower than Albon at the moment. Oh, oh, and I'm not sure which Haas is in front of Sargent, but he just didn't give him any room. Very, very, very close. So Sargent is right now driving behind a Haas on mediums. The Haas is on softs. So Sargent right now is in the slipstream of a Haas at the moment, and it's Nico Hulkenberg that's in the Haas. Oh, they go. Wow, Hulkenberg is basically closing the door on on Sargent to not allow him to pass. Fallon, which driver did you're saying you said we should watch an interview after that race? I'm not sure which driver you were referring to. Looking, yeah, you guys are all in full on food fight right now over Max and Lewis and everyone else is a innocent innocent victim. As I mentioned right now, Alonso looked like he is about to start a flying lap. Hamilton is now starting and just finished an out lap. You can hear Russell's review claiming they'll be ahead of Ferrari. They'll be behind Alpine at this rate. I think he has already claimed that they're going to be ahead of Ferrari. I think he's already done that interview already. But like that's kind of George in a weird way. Anyways, he's more than willing to say those things and not almost back him up. And we've got about 5 minutes left for this session right now. I want to thank everyone who's came and been in this session right now. We've had an interesting discussion. Pope is why is the stream hidden? Stream is hidden to protect the stream, most likely. We've had an incident where a where one of the streams was copyrighted. A copyright claim was made on one of the streams, and that is on. We've had so we're protecting the stream by hiding it. Looks like. Natty 8 pointing out that he said it after Monaco that again he's pointing out that that Russell said about being getting ahead of Ferrari. Like I would say, it's nice to have goals. Yeah, that's probably why you can't find it on YouTube when it's started at some point because it's been put in hiding. This is why I've been like, hey, come to the Discord because you will always be able to find it. Via you'll be able always be able to find it. The link will be in the Discord. And again, I haven't mentioned it yet this session. So for those who are here, don't know, we do have a Discord. We continue the conversation, like the lively conversation that we've had here. That will happen in the Discord as well. So, one of the benefits of having the Discord, you're not relying on the YouTube algorithm to show you, hey, relying on YouTube in general to show you, YouTube may like tomorrow decide like we're done with all auto racing because they've decided that with everything wrestling related. So any change in the algorithms. If you if you're in the Discord, we will post a link to this channel to this session here on YouTube. Can you explain about the points if viewers talk about? I think are they talking about which points are we talking about? The channel points? Because basically, as you do chat here, we have points that basically you earn points by chatting here, doing super chats, whatnot, and it's basically shows the personal points, and this is basically saying basically shows who are regular here on the channel. It looks like the bot is down at the moment, which is interesting. Archon's saying that the over deployment is all over the place at the moment. Yeah, and those are the personal points. Basically, as you chat here, you get points. What ends up happening at the end of the year, like the top 20, in terms of those personal points, we throw your names into a marble. Essentially, it's a marble race that's simulated with F1 cars, and we have a race with it's a marble race essentially for bragging rights. Or in my case, I guess my bragging rights is that I don't win and I fall back to the back of the pack, which I think has happened both years that we've done it. So as we come to again, we got 1 minute left. And the stream is 1 minute left. You'll see that we're about half a second left. Half a minute left in the session on stream. If you, as you're on your way out, make sure to hit that like button. It does help us. Who's faster in long runs after Max? I'm not sure at the moment. That is a good question. And then Checo's in the pits to get a change of tires. He's basically going out to basically get on track so that at the end of the session they will do practice starts. So basically, to make sure to do that, as you see, everyone's on track right now. I think everyone's on softs as well. Yeah, Checo's on softs. We're showing Mac at the moment, but basically at this point, we're about 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so the flag has come out. Checker flag has come out, and Russell's the first across the line. So people are finishing their laps at this point. Q1 is tomorrow. This is just practice 2. Just practice 2. So basically, people are coming across the line. They're going to go around, and then they'll do practice starts. So you'll see them stack up on the line. You'll see them stack up on the map, and then they'll come into the pits. What is Stroll doing? I don't know. I mean, Stroll is only a second and a tenth slower than Verstappen right now. Why is Hamilton? I mean, Hamilton's only 0.6 slower than Verstappen right now. That's why he's 11th. He's 0.6. That's because 10 other people went, a half a second or almost a half a second faster. There's a half a second between Max and P10. We've got Nico Hülkenberg, P3. 0.27 to Max. Perez, his teammate, is trying to see, looking at the gaps. Perez is 0.312. Ocon is, again, we're half a second through Russell, 0.6 through Gasly, 0.75 of a second through Norris, and Stroll is the first one just above a second. Nasota's under a second. P1 through P17 is a second gap. It was 1 second gap. Are these times representative? Not necessarily. I'm not sure that these times are all representative. I'm not really sure that the Ferrari times are fully representative. I'm not really sure that Norris's time is fully representative. I would give Hulkenberg's time is probably representative. I would probably give Verstappen and Alonso and Perez are more representative. I would put the top 5 are probably more representative, but I wouldn't bet on them, particularly Hulkenberg's time. I wouldn't bet on that. And if if you're watching the stream, cars are basically doing practice starts from. So this is going to finish our qualification, not qualification. Going to finish our second practice session. Heiko saying he has girlfriend, no chance for you. I have no clue who you're talking about, but you guys are brutal at the moment. Max is going to be our number 1 in this session. Alonso's 2, and then Nico Hulkenberg 3. Perez is P4, Ocon is P5, and then we've got Leclerc and Sainz. P6, P7, Russell P8, Bottas P9, Gasly P10. Yeah, I want to again thank you all the time. Again, this is Grash. I thank you for coming. We will be back tomorrow with free practice 3, and I believe Ryan is doing. Basically, Ryan will be doing. I believe he'll be doing qualification and the race itself. So. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. We'll see you back tomorrow.